Hey, I hope you're ready for your next challenge. This one's called repeating letters n times. You are to create a function that repeats each character in a string n times. No notes for this one. The examples are nice and clear. For example 1, you have mice, and notice that each letter is repeated 5 times because the number 5 is passed in. With hello, you get 3 H's, 3 E's, 3 L's. 3 L's again because there's 2 L's together, 3 O's. Stop 1, that's a nice case, just doing it once, you get the same thing. So cool, it's very clear. We can go code now. This is your turn. Oops. Yeah, so go ahead and have a go. Pause the video and come back when you're ready after you have your solution. Okay, so for me, I'm going to use a method that we've used in the past once. It's called aggregate, and I'm going to sort of build a string result using that. First things first, I wanted to bring to your attention something about the string class that I'm going to leverage here. One thing to note, as we've been talking about, it's important that it implements this IEnumerable of char, and that's why we were able to use a lot of these link methods on it. So you're probably aware of that, just keep it in mind. That's relevant. And then down in the constructors here, check this out. We've got one that takes a char and an integer, and you can make a string with the specified character a repeated number of times. Very handy, right, for what we're doing. So if I had 5, I could say, hey, give me m. I could pass in the character m and 5, and it makes a string with 5 m's in it. So that's super handy. We're going to be using that. So we've got a string. Since it implements that IEnumerable of char interface, we can call aggregate, and then let's review that. It's a little bit complicated, but we'll get there, right? You can go to the top. This uses the link namespace, so we'll bring that in. I was using this second overload. I want the one that has a seed value where I can initialize. Notice there's one down here that doesn't have that, and I think it says that it just uses the first value in the collection to initialize, but I don't want that. I want to specify it myself. So feel free to read this. It's good to look at it. Remember, here's this keyword again. We got an extension method, which means if you have something, remember we said we have IEnumerable of char, so remember that t-source is char. We can call aggregate on it, and that's what string was here, right? We said string, and now we have this method aggregate that we get to call. Great. So yeah, that's char. Then we have this other generic type. Notice one generic type is t-source, one is t-accumulate. These are just placeholder names, like variables are. It could be x and y here, but it's a little more expressive by saying source and accumulate. That's actually quite helpful, despite it looking maybe a little difficult right now. Over time, you get more comfortable with it, and it becomes more friendly. So we are building a string, so our t-accumulate type will be a string. That's what we're returning, right? We want to build a string. So that's good to know for our example. T-source is char, t-accumulate is string. We're going to pass in a string that's sort of at the initial value. That's what this seed is. I believe it says it down here. Yeah, you can see seed, the initial accumulator value, which I'm just going to start with an empty string. And then we have this func that's going to take a type of t-accumulate, which we said is string. It's going to take another parameter of char, and it's going to return a string. So remember that, we're going to use a lambda fitting this signature. Okay, string aggregate. So I'm going to put my seed in, which is just the empty string. I want to start with nothing. I'm going to build this string from scratch. Now I'm going to pass in that lambda, and we're just going to put the names in. We don't have to specify the types. They're sort of defined by the string that we're using here. So I'm going to put, I'll just call it repeat text. This is going to be that result that we want with all the letters repeated however many number of times. And then I've been using ch to sort of represent a char. Remember, that was our t-source type. A string is a collection of characters. So back, yeah, string we said for t accumulate, and we got a char here that we're using, and it's going to return a string. So we got that, and then we got to say what it does. We basically are going to take repeat text, and we're going to add to it that string. We're going to use that handy constructor that's going to take the char in question. To start, that would be the first letter. If we're using mice, that would be the M. And we're going to build a string with M and the number they gave us, they passed in. So let's say that's 5. So for this gets converted into a string of 5 M's. M, 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 M. And we're adding it to repeat text, which is nothing to start. So after the first character is processed, this goes to M, 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 M. Then you go process the next letter, which is an I, right? This whole thing happens over again. This time you have your M's here, you have I for the character, and the repeat text, notice I did plus equals, so it's concatenating onto it. It's already filled with M's, and it's going to plus equal this time char, which will be I, and num is still 5. It's the same number for all letters. So now you get 5 I's that are tacked onto the end of this. Now you have 5 M's followed by 5 I's, and then you see how it goes to the letter C, and this whole thing continues. You can imagine now it's the long M, I text. C is in here. It makes a string with 5 C's, slaps that on here, and you can see how that goes through and makes the result that we want. So, let's see if we're matching. They're kind enough. Yeah, it looks like our parenthesis match. We got to return the result. Be sure to do that. If this is kind of running off the screen a bit, let me just keep that all visible. So yeah, let's see how this goes. Oops. Let's see what we got. Show the error. Feel free to hunt that down. It looks like it's on line 5, 15 spaces in. The type string does not contain a definition. Ooh, yeah, do you remember what we did? Oh, spoiler alert. There it is. And that's nice when they do that for us. It makes our life easier, right? It's okay if they spoil it. Using system link. Let's try that. That's fair. Type string. Let's see what we got now. Line 8. Type string does not exist in the current context. Name string. Okay, so let's go to the string class. Namespace system, right? We didn't make this class. We didn't define it here, so let's bring it in. That's also fair. What do we do now? Alright, error line 9. Expression denotes a type where a variable value or method group was expected. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I see what I did. Okay, so to invoke a constructor, I missed the new keyword there. So that's how you create objects. That was a bad mistake on my part. I think that will fix this. Let's go to... Okay, nothing there. We haven't really been making objects yet, but yeah, you need to... You say new, then you invoke the constructor. I think that will fix that. Okay, there you have it. So yeah, the aggregate method, very handy, very general purpose, which makes it kind of hard to understand. You can use it for so many different things. And this example is very much like one we recently did where we just repeated a character once, if you remember that challenge not too long ago. So we could have done something, we could have used this same approach there, and that would have been good. So yeah, I think the heart of this one is understanding aggregate, how it works, identifying your generic types, getting comfortable with lambdas. Look up this func if you have to. See the two parameters it takes. The last one's the return type. And yeah, I think this one's worth your time learning because of how general purpose it is. And as usual, hit me up with questions, show me your solutions, and yeah, otherwise I will see you in the next video.